Shakin' shit up, shakin' shit up, shakin' shit up. Oh, we shakin' shit up, shakin' shit up, shakin' shit up, shakin' shit up. Oh, we shakin' shit up.
I'm boxing. And I'm trying to knock myself out because I can't seem to knock out the social issues and conditions that affect me as a woman, that affect me as a Black woman, that affect me as a Black person, that affect me as a Black human. I'm boxing. And as I well on the bag, I'm hoping and praying, I'm fighting for the power to kick life's ass because this shit hurts. I'm boxing. And I'm trying to dig deeper in my soul, in my heart, in my conscious mind to let the world know that I'm trying to knock them out. I'm boxing. I'm trying to knock down the pain, the bullshit, the struggle, the hopelessness, the insanity of just trying to do the right thing. I'm boxing. And I'm trying to knock myself out because it has to be easier than going insane or feeling this generational pain. I'm boxing. Jab, 2, 3. Jab, jab, jab. 2, 3. Slide. 2, 3. Slide. 4, 1, 2. Pivot. I'm boxing. And I'm trying to knock myself out because I don't know how to help Black Lives Matter. Black trans lives matter. Black women lives matter. Black queer lives matter. Black youth lives matter. Black men lives matter. Black elder lives matter. Black families matter. Black lives matter. I'm boxing. And I'm trying to knock myself out because Black economics matter. Black businesses matter. Black education matter. Black justice matter. Black leadership matter. Black arts matter. Black matter. Black and more Black matters. I'm boxing. And I'm trying to knock myself out because I'm Black and I'm proud. Ding, ding, ding. Let's get this party started, people. I am Sharon Nairi Williams. I will be your host tonight for Shakin Shit Up. We are in our second season. And if you don't know about Shakin Shit Up and this is your first time, I just want to let you know that Shakin Shit Up is about sharing stories, creativity, and exploring the messages within them. Yes, this is an event about the art, but it's the event after that you always had, that you wanted to have, of the fire breathing conversation you wanted to have after dope shit. Okay, I messed that all up, but that's why we are live. But it's some dope shit that's about to happen. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Kim. Sorry. But yeah, I use a little profanity here and there. Sorry, Pops. But that's what Shakin Shit Up is. And tonight we got two dope visual storytellers, and one you know from the show because he's my co-host, he's my friend, he is the son of Diane Maine. He is dopeness personified. But I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Mr. Michael B. Maine. Is a Seattle-based socially engaged artist and creative consultant. Primarily working as a freelance photographer, he focuses on learning about and addressing issues of social inequity through media. Concerned with studying the images that already exist and working towards being additive to the field in a way that increases representation both in front of and behind the lens. His ultimate goal is to help create a media landscape that is more fairly produced and representative of humanity and the range of human identities and experiences. In other words, he's dope, y'all. Bring to the table for me Mr. Michael B. Maine. Hey, Micah.
What's up, Sharon? How you
What's
doing?
up? I
Like I
love.
don't like I don't already know how you doing. We didn't checked in already.
I know, right? I'm doing good, Michael. How you doing today?
All right. I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm nervous, but I'm all right. I'm all
That's
right.
what's up. Your mom is in the building.
I see that. Hey, mama.
Hey, Miss Mama Maine. Glad you are here, no doubt. Michael, you know what? I'm going to introduce this person. I'm going to read their bio, but
Mhm.
before we bring them out, I want to say, I want to hear from you why, because this is a special show, why you wanted to have Chloe as your guest, because you got to pick your guest. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna read their bio right quick, and then we're gonna hear from you. All right?
All
Give you
right.
a second to think about it. Chloe Collyer is a freelance photojournalist, photo educator, and fifth generation Seattleite. Chloe has a vast toolkit, including a degree in commercial photography, 5 years experience as a photojournalist, and over 10 years spent in education. Chloe is a lover of history, biology, analog cameras, and spends their free time. Huh, what free time? I love Chloe. We're gonna bring Chloe on in, and we're gonna hear why Michael decided to ask Chloe to be their guest. Chloe, what's up, Chloe?
Hey,
Thanks
y'all. Thanks for having me.
thanks for being here. So, Michael, tell us why you wanted Chloe.
It wasn't a question. Like for me, first of all, when you ask this question, like, hey, Michael, I want you to be the guest for Shaking Shit Up to start off the next season, I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. And then you were like, and I want you to choose the guest that comes along with you. And I was like, oh, okay, I could do that. Of course, Chloe Collyer for sure. Like that was never a question. The reason to answer your question, the reason it had to be Chloe is because Chloe, you are the first person in Seattle that inspired me to pursue my craft. And you were, whether you know it or not, you're one of the first supporters of me. Chloe taught at Youth in Focus, and I was I was a mentor for Chloe's class, and and watching how dedicated to the craft that Chloe is and dedicated to the community was something that inspired me, very much inspired me. And I was like, I remember going to class and just thinking, I hope one day I can be anywhere near as talented as Chloe. So the skill is there, the talent is there, the love and passion for photography, for the community, for the craft, for the history is there, and then on top of that, Chloe's cool as hell too. And so I was like, yo, I want to have an opportunity to share some space with one of the people who I love and who I think is one of the best in the business, and not just from a technical perspective, but from like what you bring to everything around you and everyone around you. So that is why, Chloe, you had to be the guest. So thank you for saying yes. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, saying it's the year of yes. Come on.
Hey, Chloe, can you tell us 3 things people should know about you?
Yeah, okay. So it's funny when you ask me this, I'm going to have a similar answer to some of your previous guests, which is my ethnicity is what I'm going to start with. I'm biracial. I'm half white and half African American. And I really say that not because it's a big part of me, because I think genuinely people are confused about what race I am. So let me just clear that up right now. I am Black. I'm also white. What a what a contradiction. But yeah, I do identify as a Black photographer. I am a Black photographer, and that's number one. Number two is my pronouns are they and them. That's new and confusing for some people, which is okay. I like to tell people, if you get confused, just call me Chloe. Like, that's my name, that's who I am. Anytime you want to like say she, just say Chloe. And if you mess up, that's okay. Just correct and move on. And yeah, just saying that because, non-binary people exist. And number three is I'm just so blessed to do what I love, and I love. Well, actually, I'm going to say this. I am interested in becoming a parent. I just bought my first house plant. Please, everyone, send me all your plant knowledge. I need all the help, please. So I'm interested in parenting plants and also humans, and just exploring what it means to be a caretaker for something living. So that's what's on my mind. Thanks for asking.
Yo, bless you for that, because I will kill a plant in a heartbeat. I got a plant sitting over there right now, and I got 3 stems to it, and that is it. So
Just hold it on. The roots are strong.
So yeah. Hey, Michael, what 3 things people should know about you?
3 things people should know about me are: I have my own distinct style when it comes to clothes. Thank you for that, Sharon. I never pay retail for anything, and I stay curious. I'm one of the most curious people. I feel like I know. I'm just always wondering things.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yo, welcome. They said, yo, Dev and Vi are here, and Ave and Remy are here too. Welcome, y'all. Like to thank
What's up,
y'all
Rocket League crew?
hanging with us today. And then, Michelle got the first spot today, so got a front row seat. Thank you, Michelle. No doubt. And Mira is in the building, and so appreciate you, Mira. And Mama Maine said good evening to everyone, and Cuz is in the building as well. So let's do it. So for those of you that don't know how this works, so we go back and forth. Michael will show an image, Chloe will show an image. We'll talk about the images in between, and we just keep it in rapid pace. And then you are welcome to join in the conversation in the chat. Hit us up in the chat. We answer questions as we go. We show your comments, everything. We do it all together, and it'll be a nice hour and a half, hour, 2 hours. We don't know how long we'll go, as long as the conversation carries us. Before we get started, though, I want to say happy birthday to my cousin Brent Williams, who's in Virginia. He's a Howard University grad. That's all I would say. He told me I had to pump up HU, but I'm a Dell State grad, so nah, that's not happening. But love all my HBCUs and all my HBCU fam that's out there watching this. Love you, yo. Keep pushing, no doubt. So let's kick it off with the first image, Mr. Micah. Tell us about it.
This is an image that was made. I was doing some work with the Vietnamese Friendship Association, and we were at the World School in Seattle. And what we don't see, there are a bunch of young folks right now playing. It was recess, and they were all playing around. And there was this young human sitting on these steps by themselves playing with some coins. And I watched as like 6 people came up to them and kept asking like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" And this young human kept saying, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling." And this was actually shot on film on I think this was Delta 400 black and white film, one of my favorite film stocks. And this young person reminded me so much of myself, because growing up, I was like just very, very different from a lot of folks. And I was often hanging out by myself, and people would often come up to me and say things like, "Hey, are you all right? Are you good? Are you good? You all right?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm cool. I'm just chilling. I'm all right. I'm just fine." And so when I saw this image, I asked if I could photograph them, and they were like, "Yeah, cool, go ahead." And this just kind of personifies my experience as a young person, and I saw that in this young person as well. And it was really cool for me to be in a space where they allowed me to create this image and felt comfortable with me being there. So this was one of the first images that I made when I got serious about doing photography full time here in Seattle. And it's always the one I go back to. I think it's still the header image on my website and everything, because this is probably one of the most important images that I've ever made to me. So that's the story on that one.
Awesome. Violet said, I recognize that one. Chloe, what do you think about what sparks in you when you see this image?
Well, I love black and white. I think black and white, as an educator, I always encourage anyone interested in photography in exploring black and white and experimenting with it. So that's what jumped out right away is the beauty of the light. Photography is all about light, right? If we don't have light, we can't do nothing. So the light is really, really working in the favor of the photographer here and of the image. But the thing that's really striking me is I love people and I love portraits. This is a portrait without a face, and that's something that I have been thinking about more and more lately. Anonymity in portraiture, and also consent, which is something Michael brought up, asking, is it okay if I take your photo? I could go on a whole thing about the technique of, I think there's value, what I'm trying to say, in not showing a face, especially when it's a vulnerable person, like a young person. So I love that this is an image that tells me so much without showing a face. I think that actually takes some skill to do. So, yeah, and then analog. Don't get me started on analog. I love film. I want to ask Michael. Did you process this film yourself? Do you enjoy working in the darkroom, or do you send your film out?
Oh yeah, all day. Process that all by my lonesome.
All right.
Nice. When I first saw this image, the thing that stands out to me that it's a child, and the space that sometimes even our children need when they're in big spaces, and the solitude of it all. And then I was curious too of what he was looking at. What was in the room with him? How did he feel about it? I had like so many questions for him. Like, what's going on with you? What are you looking at? Did you need a moment to yourself? Like, what's happening? And that, I think that's the beauty of photography, is that you have to sometimes come up with your own story of what that image is. And that's cool. That's so cool. And then the black and white nature of it. I'm not a photographer, but I love black and white. Michelle says, love black and white photography. The subject has his own unique style, like Mr. Maine.
Oh,
nice.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to the fashion of what that child was wearing, because that's a strong element. I feel like there's so few things happening in that image that you start to lock in on what is happening, right? Because there's so much negative space. So you're like, okay, there's patterns there, like there's stripes, and then his hat, I think, says a lot, because if you can see, there's kind of a skull looking. The brightest part of his hat, which brings your attention, right? Because there's a brightness, there's a contrast there, there's a white spot. It's kind of a depiction of mortality. So that's interesting. You have youth and you have death in the same image in a way. Not to get too reading into too many symbols, but that's what we're doing here, right? We're reading into the image. So
yes, indeed. Yeah, and if you're out there watching, like, let us know what you're thinking about the photo as well. That's what's up. Michael, you have anything else you want to say about the photo?
Michael, can you speak a little bit more about what you were doing there? You said you were doing work with the community. What community were you working with?
Vietnamese Friendship Association. Yeah, well, I was there primarily working to create some images for like marketing materials and things that they would be using on their website, stuff like that. And I spent quite a bit of time hanging out with the young folks, making sure that they knew who I was, felt comfortable around me, and vice versa, and really built relationships. Like what I would want to say about the image really has not much to do about the image, except for that I think that for me anyway, to create an image like that means that there was time invested leading up to it. And I think that for me, a successful image is not one that's necessarily technically perfect. It's one in which the relationship between the photographer or the image maker and then whoever is in this image or whatever is in the image is healthy, and that can be felt and seen. So that's really what matters to me. And I think that the fact that like when I asked this young person if it's cool, and they was like, oh yeah, of course, totally. I was like, you feeling comfortable? And yeah.
Hey,
So
who's this strange man that want to take my picture?
Exactly. And the last thing I'll say about that image is, had it not been for that image, I don't know that I'd be doing photography today. That's one I still go back to whenever I'm doubting myself or thinking about value of creating images or something. Whenever I go back to that image, I always feel something that makes me go, no, this is why I do what I do. Yeah.
That's awesome. Kimberly said, I wonder what the subject is thinking about. So she's wondering as well. And we shall never know.
Exactly.
Awesome. Let's move to Chloe's first image.
Let's do it.
Hey, my God. Okay, well, if you don't know, you're about to know. This is Marcus Harrison Green, who is what I call him my editor, which is a term I've always wanted to say as a journalist. He is the editor and co-founder of co-founder? I'm gonna have to fact check that one. He is one of the originators of the South Seattle Emerald, which is an independent, community-based, like journalism outlet. It's an online, southseattleemerald.org. And so this is my editor, and he has helped evolve me as in the profession of journalism. I'm actually like I would say journalism is kind of the lane that I'm in photography, portraiture and journalism, so people and news. And so he's helped mentor me through the past maybe 5 years, and I feel really blessed to be a contributor to the South Seattle Emerald. And if you don't know about the Emerald, please tap into that. And yeah, he asked me recently to take his portrait, and whenever like I normally take portraits of strangers or people I just met, so it's a very different mode to photograph someone that you know so well. It's like I don't do that very often. Like, Michael, I've never photographed you. Like, that's kind of wild. Like, Michael's one of my best friends. I've never taken his picture because I don't know. That's just, we're gonna have to fix that. So anyway, this is my image of Marcus that he basically commissioned. I was honored to have my mentor ask me to take his headshot. And yeah, so just all praise to Marcus. He's doing great work. And yeah, what do y'all think about this image?
First of all, Marcus. I love calling his name, and I love Marcus, and I think he's doing some wonderful things. Can you talk about, because it's like I could take this same picture and it will not look like this. Like he's perfectly framed. You have the background is kind of like out of focus a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. The first thing that Michael, I think Michael just saw this image for the first time, like recently, and he was like, oh, that bokeh. So that's what that background blurriness is. We call it bokeh in photography, B-O-K-E-H, and it's just another word for kind of optics and the physics of light and how things get blurry, basically. So yeah, this effect is what happens when you zoom in. So zoom in, and what is called background separation. So the background is far away from your subject, and you're zooming in, and that's how you get that real the bending, and also so you really want a long lens, like a zoom lens. But if you're like, say you're doing it with your phone and you don't have portrait mode, sorry to get in teacher mode here, but like,
oh no, this is great, yeah.
Like if you're using your phone, zoom in a little bit, and you don't want to zoom too much because that can hurt your image quality. But yeah, you want your background to be far away. You zoom in a little bit, and it'll help you blur everything. So yeah, and as far as like symmetry goes, I always peep the background first before I even put my subject anywhere near the camera. I figure out the background first. So I knew that was going to be, actually that shrub was real distracting. So I just put him right there and censored him because otherwise it would have just been so distracting. And yeah, I don't use Photoshop or anything. So this is straight out the camera. This is his natural, his natural smile. And then it's just a matter of making your subject laugh, really, because there's no way to smile naturally unless you smile naturally. There really is no way to fake it. So you just got to, kiki and tickle them or do whatever you can do to make them smile. I don't know what I said to him, but this is what I would call an outtake. Like, he didn't even end up using this one, but this is kind of my secret favorite. So that's why I chose this one.
Awesome. Michelle said the out of focus background makes the subject appear 3D. And then Violet said, I love that background. Really puts the subject in their own focus world. And then and Marcus is texting me right now because I just texted him and said he was on my show. And he's like, say what? So I sent him to oh, so I'll get to him in a second. Michael, what you think about this photo?
Well, of course, I love this photo for a number of reasons. The first thing is the emotion that comes out of it for me. Like, the emotion and the expression is so genuine and real. And anybody who knows Marcus knows that is Marcus's smile right there. When Marcus is smiling for real, that's what it looks like. And it's beautiful to see somebody who works so hard and is a Black man, male identified person, unapologetically being completely comfortable and completely himself and smiling. Like, as a Black man in this world who feels like it's just difficult to exist sometimes, it is nice to just see this and to see like the relationship between the two people in this image. So that's the thing that stands out to me the most, is just like, yo, that's totally Marcus right there, 100% at his best, at his happiest. And yeah. So whatever it is you did, Chloe, that was not a moment in time. There was a lot of investment and time and energy that have gone in over the years for this to happen. And I see that in this image. Then from the techno stuff, of course, like I love the texture. I love texture. Love texture. So like this cardigan that he's wearing against this like the blurry background. I love how the blurry background is like swirly, and so it creates some concentric circles that kind of emanate directly from Marcus, which kind of like a lot of people look at Marcus like, I don't want to say pedestal, but like they're like, yo, he's the center of a lot of stuff, literally. And so it's really cool to see him figuratively and literally in the center of this picture, with the elements of the picture also reinforcing that, and in a way that feels good. And so yeah, I love this picture. And Chloe, you're one of the few people I would actually trust to photograph me. So we might do a little.
Yeah, we need to plan something. And a little behind the scenes, we were talking about the concept of Black superheroes when that's what we were talking about during this photo. So I was calling him a Black superhero, and I have some shots of him doing the superhero pose as well, because I was just gassing him up. That's what I do to my subject. I just gas them up. But yeah, what's in the chat? Were you going to share something from the chat?
No, I shared a couple already, so we're just waiting. But yeah, Chloe is dope, and I love that you said that Marcus was your mentor, and that's really, really special to have that relationship. And you can see it in the photos. Like, some people don't know that, you can get a subject, any subject, and do great things with, but when there's a relationship, it's just something a lot more. It's a lot more touching to you, the photographer. So I appreciate that, no doubt. And
sometimes it's my job to build. Just want to say real quick, like, if you ever feel like, for people who feel like that's a barrier because you don't have a relationship, build it quickly. Like, just sometimes I'm on an assignment and I have to build a relationship in 30 minutes, and we have to get to know each other and get comfortable. And Michael was talking about the same thing with his subject in his photo about trust. right? You got to build trust, and then that's how you get the photo. So anyway.
Mm-hmm. Cool beans. If y'all want to see more of Chloe, go to her Instagram, Facebook. She's Chloe Poetry, and Chloe Collyer .com is her website, and got some dope photos on there as well. My God,
What up?
what's your next photo?
Image two. Okay, here we go. Let's go with.
My apologies, Chloe.
Oh,
my bad.
All right, here we go.
Next photo.
All right, this is an image out of the series called "Homogeneity is a Myth," and the concept from this image, or the concept from this for this series, came about one day. I think I was running or in the shower or something, and something happened on the news, and I was like, it is so difficult to be Black sometimes. A lot of the time, most of the time, at least my experience has been, it's just been so difficult. So I was like, what if just everybody was white, and we had to judge people not based on what our skin looked like, but on who we are as people. And so I was like, what if we painted everybody completely white, put the exact same wig? So the idea was I wanted to remove as many identifying features as possible. So like skin tone, gender expressions, hair, and things like that to, and I don't like the term force, but to really encourage people, maybe push people to focus on the eyes and the words. And so by putting everybody in the exact same wig, painting everybody white, and then using a white background. This is all done in camera, by the way, like in camera here. So this is actual body paint and makeup, is a white wig. And I worked with Joel Bergholm, the makeup artist, to do this. And the person featured right here is Kate Mensa, who is an amazing fashion designer, social advocate, teacher, box instructor, yoga instructor, just all around amazing human. And part of this project was to ask people, what is something that you would want people to know that they wouldn't know just by looking at you or hearing you speak or something. And so the words here, in case you can't read it or see it, it says, the only situation I feel me is when I'm with my son and people I feel are sincerely true with me. They bring so much happiness and peace to me. My son is my big fan of everything I am accomplishing because of that, I don't know the word failure. And I displayed this when I had an exhibition. I displayed these images all over the place in random places, and then showed the following image by itself, like just the image in color, in full color. So to create a contrast between the ambiguity and then the realness of that person in full color. And in both images, the goal is to encourage people to really focus on the eyes and see that person as a whole person. That is that series. When they were displayed, the white image that you see on the left was not displayed with the full color image, so that people, when they were walking around and moving around the space, they were constantly not able to resolve who was who. So they would read the statement and then go around trying to find the person that it matched up with. And I just loved watching the frustrated expressions on people's faces. They were like, I can't tell who is who. I want to know who this Black male doctor is, or I want to know who this person is. And they just couldn't figure it out. So, yeah.
Wow. Violet said, holy shit. Yeah, that's the same thing I said the first time I saw this exhibit. Chloe, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, power. Like that's a hit or image is what it is, and every image in this series is as impactful, if not more, as this. But yeah, I think homogeneity is a great idea to run with. It's super inspired. Part of photography, I think, being a good photographer is doing something new, being a good artist, right? Like if it's been done a million times, like I don't know, and this is really original. And then the technical elements, this this is one thing that Michael, hits out of the park. That's all he can do is just hit home runs when it comes to technical abilities. The idea, I mean, I'm not sure how many in this series, how many people total?
They're about 20.
20 people. And when you line these images up, they're exactly the same. The makeup, the lighting, the hair, the pose, the way, when people, to get someone to have a neutral face, a calm face is actually hard because our face naturally scrunches up, especially when we're uncomfortable in front of the camera. So the technical ability that he could produce 40 images that are identical is incredible. It reminds me of, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on that photographer's name who is a fashion photographer, and he used to be a military headshot photographer. Do you know what I'm talking about, Michael?
I don't. No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We're gonna fact check this later. Or someone in the chat, tell me who I'm talking about. He is like a famous white dude, 1960s photographer, and he got into the industry because he used to do the portraits, I don't know a better way to say it, but the portraits when you join the army. So hundreds of people would come in line, and this dude would just go click, yep, okay, yep, do this, click, and just over and over again. And that's such an interesting. Say it again.
Is it Tony Frissell or Frissell?
No. Oh my gosh, it's gonna come to me. I really admire the precision and this element of doing something over and over again and doing it consistently. And then I have a question about the interview element. Can you talk a little bit about adding text and how did you decide to add text with images, and had you done that before? I
had not done that before at that time. One of the things that I was exploring at that moment, and still am consistently, is I keep hearing people say things around photography that say things like, it's my job to tell their story, or I'm trying to tell someone's story, or something along those lines. And I kept thinking, but it's not my job to tell somebody's story. It's their job, if they want to share that story, to share that story. It's my job to know where I am within these systems that create platforms for people to share their stories. And so I never want to put words into people's mouths or say things for them. Because I'm never going to be the best person to do it, but also I feel like it's up to that person to decide what they want to share and how much to share, and if they share it all. And so the interview process was just hung out with people. With Kate, I called Kate. Kate lives in Bellevue, and we drove down to Bellevue and visited her boxing studio and just kicked it with her for a while. And then we've done a couple of different fashion works and things. For also, her website is amazing. Check that out, Kate S. Mensa. And so we built relationship over time. And I often talk about how my projects tend to be very slow projects, because I very rarely will call somebody and say, hey, let's photograph you next weekend or something. It's usually at least 4, 5, 6 months down the line before they're actually in the studio or something.
Whoa.
There was a question in the chat about how did the models feel in the makeup and the wig, physically? How did they react to that?
Everybody felt different. Kate was very calm and seemed like they felt pretty comfortable in it. Of course, it was makeup, so there was sometimes people didn't want to move their face too much because it could feel the weight of the paint and everything. Kate was particularly chill about it. There were some folks who started crying, who said things like there were some Black folks who I worked with to photograph, and their reactions were extremely powerful. One person looked in the mirror, and when they saw themselves for the first time, they said, "So this is what it's like to matter. This is what it feels like to matter." And then somebody else was like, "Oh, I'm going to go out and get a bank loan right now," and things. And one person actually walked out of the studio wearing all the face makeup and had fewer problems going. They went to the grocery store, the mall, rode the bus, and they had fewer problems that day than they had just going along their day.
People thought they had lost their mind. People were probably leaving them alone.
No, it wasn't that. They were like, "Hey, how are you doing? What's going on?" Like when they checked out, they were like, "Yeah, that was the fastest checkout, the nicest people." It wasn't like people were avoiding them. They were just nice. They were like, "So this is what it's like for people to treat me with dignity," and that's what that's what it took. And then there were a few non-Black identified people who were white who did the exact same project, and they were like, "Oh, this feels very weird for me because I've never seen myself as white before." That was the first time they identified with a color. So yeah, reactions were all over the place. Some people were, I said to myself, next time I do something like this, I'm definitely going to make sure there's a mental health care professional that is part of this project to make sure that we're caring for people and not just traumatizing folks and leaving them with no resources. That is the one. That's the one regret I have about this project, is not being prepared for that element.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think it's been said. Are we here? I don't think it's been said like out loud, but I immediately, this project makes me think of blackface, right? Like painting your face white feels like a reference to painting your face black. So for me, that came up real quick the first time I saw this. And but yeah, every time I look at this work, I see something new in it or think about something in it. And I have one more piece about this, one more kind of question for you about this project. Can you speak a little bit about the fact that, like, I think from what I understand, like you are a makeup artist, or like you are technical with hair and makeup. So how is that? Like, what's your relationship with hair and makeup?
Michael has had 500 jobs.
Yeah.
I definitely would not call myself a makeup artist or a hairstylist, but I love to be able to, I love to learn enough about somebody else's job so that I can appreciate the effort that goes into it. So I did train in makeup. I haven't trained as much in hair as I would like, but I've trained in makeup, so I could appreciate more fully the people that I collaborate with and work with and understand what they're doing. Also to build a language to be able to have conversations on a level, I don't want to say playing field, but like, have conversations where we understand each other. And then also, like, sometimes I just got to get in there and do it. I might have an idea, but no budget, or or something like that, or an idea in little time, or somebody doesn't show up, and I need to be able to. For me, anyway, I feel like I need to be able to take a concept and see it all the way through, whether somebody's going to come along with me or not.
That's good. Violet said that's an incredible project, and then I think Kimberly got kind of stuck. Like Michael did. Michael did that.
He did that. Truly.
I appreciate that, Kimberly, because I know I can be monotone, so I appreciate anytime there's some energy injected.
But then Kimberly came back and said Michael did some really deep thinking on this. Much respect, no doubt. Yeah, Michael does that. Michael is a deep thinker, but he will have you think that he's not. But that's why I have to call on him when we're in meetings together. Michael, what are you thinking?
But that's low-key my favorite kind of deep thinker, because I get exhausted by deep thinkers who, what's the word, like pontificate. They just like la 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 la, like they can just. And Michael, you're very succinct. Like you'll pop up and tap in and say your piece, and it will be very astute, and then you'll sit down and listen. Very, very rare to meet a human that can do both those things. So yeah. Yes, anyway, enough gas for Michael.
And if you want to connect with Michael, you can connect with Michael. Michael B. Maine on all platforms, and Michael B. Maine's website as well, no doubt. Chloe, what you got for us?
Yeah, Michael's in charge. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I like this image. This is the oldest of the images that I have here. This is from, if you're not from Seattle, we have an annual May Day march on May 1st. That's in honor or led by it's for the labor movement, right? International workers of the world, that kind of thing. And more often than not, recently, a lot of marches are led by indigenous communities. There's a lot of reasons why Seattle does that, but I'm not going to get into that. But basically, this is a local dance group that use Aztec, traditions, heritage, culture, and they drum dance. And they also bless the walkway. So just you can see in the top part of the image here that one of the leaders and everyone in this image is, from what I could tell, fairly like feminine identifying. So I think that's a powerful element as well. These women were leading, and this was the youngest person here that I could see as part of this. I'm always interested in what the young people are doing and what the old people are doing, what the elders and the youngins are up to. So I was really, this was a great little moment where I was able to catch this young person during the May Day March.
Awesome. Michael, what do you think? What does this image bring up for you?
For me, this image, first of all, my eyes are immediately drawn to the eyes of this young person wearing the headdress, looking directly at the camera. And I feel like trust and consent keeps coming up in this conversation, but it feels apparent to me that this person is comfortable with their photograph being made by Chloe here. So that's the first thing that stands out to me. Also, I love color, and I know I said it before, I love texture, and there's so much texture going on here, from the smoke to the feathers to the wardrobe. Like, there's so much texture here. And also, I think that, I'm about to get technical for just a quick second. One of the things that stands out to me about all of Chloe's work is how much dynamic range is present all the time. And I was like, how do you get, the sky is not blown out, the darks are still detailed in the darks, and people who do this will understand that is very difficult to have everything visible, especially in the digital era. And is this a digital picture here?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot going on in this picture I like. And also, I think Chloe is amazing at motion and action. And so here is a picture that I feel like I can feel. It's not just like I'm looking at a picture. Like there's dimension, there's color, there's texture and depth, there's emotion, and I love that there's motion to everything. Even the smoke is moving, and that is visible too. So yeah, another one where I look at it and I just go, this is another beautiful piece. Props.
Another one.
Mira said, what an awesome image. And Kimberly said, love the vibrant colors. It's amazing. It's really amazing, and how all the things that Michael said, since I'm not a photographer, but I'm immediately drawn to the young lady in the middle, and with everything that's going on, like, they draw you in really quickly, and then I kind of like zoom out and see the rest of the picture. And so kudos to you and capturing this moment, because you're awesome. You're awesome. Chloe Love.
Oh, thank you. And I do want to say one more thing, which is this is an example of, like, I've been documenting, like, protests. I never thought of them as protests, but in Seattle we just kind of call them marches. I feel like we have a very specific political culture. I was born into the age of WTO. Like, I think I was maybe 8 when the WTO riots were happening. So I really came into consciousness, excuse me, in a very political world. And anyway, but what I'm trying to say is, Black Lives Matter and what happened this summer and everything, I think a lot of eyes turned to politics and protesting, especially in photography and the journalism world. And not to, like, be like a hipster or whatever, but, like, I've been doing this. Like, I've been out here, like, from day one, like, and this is nothing new. These marches, this May Day march, the same organizers that make this march were part of the WTO day, and I'm not going to call it a riot or a protest. That the WTO was just like a normal Seattle day that went wrong, But yeah, protest culture. I'm really tied into documenting that, and I think I have more images we can talk more about what happened this summer. But yeah, this is from a few years ago, so just an example of I've been out here in these streets.
Well, yeah, and definitely because when I moved to Seattle, and now I'm kind of used to it, but Seattle has always been for me, and I've been here for it'll be 21 years in June, a protest town. Someone's always protesting in Seattle, and it may be a major march, it may be a small march, but I was like, what is going on? And I'm glad you said that, because people should know that Seattle didn't just start protesting around Black Lives Matter, and that social unrest. We're happy that happened, and how that happened, but how it happened was terrible, right? We don't want to constantly have to take to the streets or things like that. We just want things to be right. And so, but Seattle is always, I'm like, Seattle's so conscious of what's happening and issues. It's crazy. It's a crazy culture that comes with living in Seattle. Definitely. Oh, look at my gal.
Look at that face. Mira asked a question that hit me straight in my soul, and I just want to speak on it very quickly. What is my relationship that I built with that young person? Okay, I'm going to try not to cry during this. So basically, I'm going to give you this SparkNotes quick version of this. This picture was taken maybe 5 years ago, when I was maybe earlier in my career, put it that way. When I was first starting out, I didn't really understand the concept of captioning or asking for consent or talking to the subject. Obviously, sometimes you talk to your subject, but in a situation like this, when there is 400 people in the street and it's hectic, there's times when you just can't check in, or maybe I shouldn't say can't, maybe I just was ignorant to that. So this was a situation that if this was today, I 100% would have gone up to this young person, said, first of all, talk to them, and then maybe see if their guardians were around, talk to their guardians as well. I would have gotten their name, their age, their pronouns. I would have asked a little bit about them, and then associated, kind of like what Michael was doing with the previous image, associated a direct quote. That's how I like to do it now. I did not do any of that for this image. I took this image. Oh, this is exactly what I think is wrong with the industry, if you ask me. I took this image and didn't speak to this young person. I did email the organization later, and I think I sent them a copy of this image and just let them know that I took it. But yeah, long story short, I have no relationship with this subject. And this is probably the only image in my portfolio that's like that. And I think it's a learning moment to talk about this. So thank you so much for asking that question. And yeah, I'm just going to keep it 100. I think I did something wrong here. And I'd love to circle back and find this young person. So if you're watching, please hit me up. Yeah, and I don't do that anymore. It's not how I work anymore. So thank you for your question, Mira.
Awesome. Michelle said, great connection with the child. The colors are explosive, but does not take your attention away from the child and the connection made with the photographer. Thank you, Michelle and Mira, for that. No doubt. Michael, you thinking something?
Always. I appreciate your response to that question, Chloe. I think that oftentimes when we're on platforms, like any platform, especially something like this, where we know people are watching us and listening to us, it's important. I feel like it's very important to address issues and the ones that we perpetrate as well, and show that it's okay to admit and to recognize that not like there's always learning to be happening and to be had. And that's mostly what I'm reflecting on right now. I'm just like, I already thought you were amazing. Now I think you're even more amazing. So yeah, that's what you saw me thinking, Cher.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Chloe, for sharing that with us and your honesty, keeping it 100, no doubt. So, Michael, what do you have for us?
Let's see. Coming up, we have this one. And these are images. I should probably need to explain this one a little bit. In 2014, I was approached and asked if I would do a project, or no, I'm sorry, an exhibition at an event called Hack to End Homelessness. And the idea was that they're like, hey, would you be one of the 3 photographers to show work representing homelessness? And at the time, I was also doing work with a University District Youth Center who works with young people experiencing homelessness. It's a drop-in shelter and or drop-in center, and then they provide various resources and things. And I went home that night, and the next day was the day that I was going in to go volunteer there. And I kept thinking about things like, is it my role to do this, or how can I do it in a way that feels full of dignity and respect and fairness? And just prior to that, I was looking at some street photography from I think it was on Instagram or something, and I said to myself, I am never going to create an image like this ever in the future, in which I am just photographing somebody without consent, especially if it's because pictures of homelessness tends to be one of the most provocative series of street images. And it tends to benefit the photographer and then not the people that end up being the subject matter. And so I'm sorry. Oh, so that day I went into the UDYC Center and just sat down with the young folks that we were hanging out with. I was like, hey, this opportunity came up yesterday. I was asked if I could do an exhibition on homelessness, and I want to know what your thoughts are. How would you want to represent homelessness? What does it mean to you? How would you represent it? How do you think about it? How would you want to express this? And so we worked together and developed a plan where we talked about photography and composition and color and all that. And I do mean talk about it. Like, it wasn't me saying this is how you do it. It's like, no, this is a collaborative situation here. And then I worked with Panda Labs and Jessica. Thank you. Shout out to Jessica over at Panda Labs, and bought several cameras, rolls of film, and then distributed the cameras to all of the young folks who wanted to participate in this project. And then Panda Labs, I can't remember if it was free or some extreme discount, but they processed the film and made sure that everybody who created images had access to their own work. So everybody got their own prints, their own digital files. And then instead of me showing work on the wall at this exhibition, it was a wall full of the work from the people experiencing the homelessness themselves. And then we also made sure that they had access to be at the exhibition, because I think another thing that's important is that people have access to the institutions that we are often neglected from or dismissed from, and to be in the room when people observed and witnessed their work. And one of the key things that came out of that was there was an executive person that was there, and also one of the young people that created one of these images, that both happened to be at the same image at the same time. And the executive person goes, wow, this is a beautiful image. I wonder who made that. And then the person who was in the program standing right there said, oh, that's me. And I watched his expression change when he was like, oh, wait a minute, you created this? You created this? And she was like, yeah, I created this. And they ended up having a conversation that day, and ended up with an employment opportunity out of it, because they broke down some of the stereotypes and preconceived ideas that they had of each other. Just prior to that, I heard this person, the executive person, talking about the problem with people experiencing homelessness and how they could solve their problems if they would do all these things that are basically, just speaking out of ignorance, pure ignorance. And then just prior to that, I heard the young person talking about how the problem with the situation was exactly the kind of person that she was talking to then. and they ended up having a conversation and then got a job out of it. So, yeah, that is that. And these are images that they created.
Wow. Thank you, Michael. Mira sends a great big heart. And Chloe, what stands out for you?
Oof. I'm having all the emotions over here, y'all. I'm in my feelings, like truly looking at these images. I mean, my first reaction to this, and I did know the backstory and had kind of forgotten, so that's interesting to kind of see this again with new eyes. My first thought is Michael always is breaking the rules in the best way with his images, right? The first image was a portrait without a face. The second image was, a completely avant-garde portrait series. And here again, we have something that just doesn't happen. And my question is, why doesn't this happen? Again, I'm thinking about my side of the industry, which is more journalism. I truly don't understand why we don't do this in journalism. Like, truly. Why wouldn't you, especially in a situation like this, a marginalized community, we have defaulted to paying, rich, let's be real, like privileged people to what we call parachute in to communities and document communities. Why wouldn't you just give the community a camera? Yeah, so this is incredible, and this is how it should be, in my opinion. I'm curious why this doesn't happen more, and I'm also curious, like, if this was your first time doing this, and would you do this again? Is there some way that you would distribute cameras to a community and do another version of this, or are you just kind of, I did this idea and I'm not going to revisit it?
Oh yeah, definitely thinking about doing this again in many ways, and I want to do it on a larger scale, in various ways. So yeah. Also, if anybody out here is listening, watching, and has cameras they want to donate, send them my way. I'll make sure they get into the hands and hearts of people that want to use them.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out the youth element as well. Mike, this is interesting because Michael and I met working with young people in photography. So here we are full circle talking about it again. But the power of putting the camera in a young person's hand. I mean, who does that? Who goes up to a young person and says, "What do you think? What's your opinion? How do you see the world?" Like literally, how do you see the world? What's your perspective? Literally, what's your perspective? And yeah, the quality of the images are incredible, just on a photographic level. And people who are surprised, I feel like what Michael said, I feel sorry for people who are surprised by young people making good work. And we were just talking about that right before this. I was just looking at my students' images seconds before this, and I was like blown away. It was images I hadn't seen. I was like, this 15-year-old is just, could be doing what I do. So anyway, yeah, lovely. And again, just breaking the rules in all the right ways.
Man, Michael does do that. Violet said, that's fucking awesome. which is everything. I think sometimes people forget about the human element to photography and not just doing an exhibit to do an exhibit. And doing an exhibit, I think one of the things that I'm learning from both Michael and Chloe, both of you, is that the purpose, the rationale behind it, the thoughtfulness behind it, the learning from it, and continuously learning and trying to tell a story visually. And so I honor your storytelling methods, because what some of us can say with words, you can say with images, and then you can also say things that we can't even think about. And that's what that exhibit made me, those set of photos together made me think about, and hearing that story. Because we was just talking about that earlier this week too. He was telling me this story. So that's amazing. So I appreciate that.
Also, can we just take a moment to be like, anyone watching, if you think it's avant-garde to turn your camera to black and white mode and go take a picture of a homeless person, please don't. Just don't. Just take a picture of something else. There's other stuff. Walk up to an unhoused person and talk to them, but just put your camera away. Okay, and that's my TED Talk for the day.
I like that. I didn't know how to spell that, but I would put it in the chat. That's truth. That's truth. I love it. Shaking shit up. Shaking shit up.
Don't make me hit play.
Shaking shit up.
You know, I got it on speed dial. We could.
I know you do. I know you do. All right, Chloe, what you got for us? Ooh.
Oh, okay. Ready for a flex? Yeah, this is my image here on the front page of the New York Times, bottom left. Yeah, there we go. This is my image from this summer. So much happened this summer. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So basically, I'm a freelance journalist, which just means I don't have loyalty. I'll be out here, making images basically for myself. Sometimes I get an assignment, but for the most part, in this situation over the summer, the uprising started, and literally I actually live downtown, so the uprisings were literally outside my door, and whether I wanted to or not, it just needed to happen. As far as me documenting it, I mean, how could I not? I hadn't planned to, but again, I have this long history of going to marches and photographing, and they were literally outside my house, and yeah. So long story short, New York Times called me out of the blue, and they were like, "We saw your Instagram," which is weird because I don't hashtag or like market myself on Instagram. I just put my work out there and let it speak for itself. So I wasn't like pitching to New York Times. They called me in, and this was my first New York Times assignment, was going to this. It's called White Coats for Black Lives March. So this was one of the many. Seattle had at least 100 consecutive days of protest, easily. Probably more if you did the math. But yeah, this was one of the first, in the first 2 weeks after the tragedy with George Floyd. And it was so interesting, first of all, being on assignment for New York Times and having, I don't remember if I had a badge that said New York Times, but just the experience of saying, when people say, who are you shooting for? That happens a lot. Who are you making photos for? Who are you working for? That's most people's first question to me when I'm taking images, which is fine. That's valid. I would ask the same thing. So normally I say I'm a freelancer, but that day things changed, and I said I'm shooting for New York Times. And I apologize for saying shooting. We can get into that later, but that's not actually language I like to use. So I'm going to try to correct myself on that one. But yeah, so I made images at this march. It was all, I shouldn't say all, it was majority healthcare workers, and in those first few weeks of what happened, especially in Seattle, the streets were packed. I've lived here my whole life. I study history. I've never seen anything like this. We all saw the images. The streets were packed, and to have it all be healthcare workers, this person here is in their scrubs. I mean, they were literally, people were getting off work. The march started, and I need to shout out the organizer of the march as well. I'll talk about her in just a second, but yeah, basically, I made this image surrounded by people in a pandemic. It's just such an interesting. And what's happening is this person's looking up at a speaker, and the speaker is I believe was the march organizer, who's Dr. Estelle Williams, who is a surgeon and an incredible human being, works at the UW Medical Center. And Estelle is also a community worker and just does so much work. And is a Black woman on the front lines of the medical, healthcare system. So anyway, this was such an incredible experience, just hearing the testimonies of healthcare workers. I never thought in my life, first of all, I didn't even think there was racism in the healthcare industry. So that's my privilege of never even noticing that or experiencing that. And then just to have so many people say it openly, to be like, yeah, this is real. Like Black and brown people, Indigenous people, like, they don't get the same healthcare, and they get worse healthcare, and they die easier, and it's And when I say die easier, I mean they don't get the care they need to live, is what I'm trying to say. So thank you in the comments. Congrats on the New York Times assignment. Yeah, just so what an experience to get called by the New York Times, and I continue to freelance for them. So that's the story behind this one.
Awesome. And then Michelle said you also captured the emotion of the movement. And then
oh wow, the emotion of the movement. That's powerful.
Yeah, Amira said I'm here for it, and she said that as soon as the photo appeared. So thank you, Mira. And then Violet said you can see it all in the subject's eyes. And Violet continues, such a compelling, powerful photo. So thank you, Chloe, for being on the front lines, but also thank you to the organizers and all the people that marched to help have their voices heard, that this is not acceptable. So we appreciate that. Michael, how did you feel about what stands out to you about this image?
First thing that stands out to me about this image is the excuse me, is the emotion in the eyes, and then of course that statement. I feel like that statement is one that I know I can relate to, and many, especially many Black people, can relate to. And like I think about the first thing I thought about when I saw this was an experience I had. I think it was like 2 or 3 days after George Floyd was murdered, and somebody, a white identified person, came up to me and said, "Wow, I can't believe this happened. I'm so sorry. I can't believe this happened." And my response to them was, let me see if I can switch this over real quick so you can see my expression. My response to them was, every day. Every day. You just don't see it every day. And so when I see this, I'm like, yes, I think it's important to recognize that this is not a one-time incident. This happens all the time. And it's also not just Black men who are being assaulted and killed. It's a lot of people. There's trans people, queer people, women. It's not just the men. I think it's important to recognize that it's not just men who are falling to this type of kind of this bullshit and racism. But yeah, so to the image, and I think that's one of the things that's really important about imagery is it's not, of course, there's technical things I could talk about all day long, but it's not, ultimately the thing that really matters to me is what does this evoke in people? And every image that's created is going to affect the way people perceive something or someone, the world around them. It's going to create confusion or understanding or both around our lived experiences and the world that we live in. And this is such a powerful image that I think goes to your point, Sharon, with sometimes things that can't be said with words can be said through images. And I think that this is such a powerful image. And I'm sad that it exists. And I'm also extremely grateful that it exists. There's so much right and there's so much wrong. And the stuff that's wrong is not Chloe's fault.
That's beautifully said. And I want to say something really quick. And yeah, I'm going to respond, or either Michael, feel free to respond to Mira as well. Something interesting backstory about this image. So the hecticness of making images all day. In fact, this day I had 3 assignments that day. I went to 3 different marches across town, and I ended up getting home at like 10 p.m. So all day, just on a technical level, sending images in real time to the New York Times, captioning. It was very hectic, and I wasn't even looking at my images, to be honest. I didn't have time to even see this image. It was my editor. I guess that's what you would my editor, whose name I believe is Morgan McCarthy, still works at the New York Times, but not as a photo editor. She chose this image, I believe, from what I understand. She helped make this image, and I had no idea it was going on the cover. It's not like they send you out and they're like, this is for the cover. No, you don't know anything what the editors are thinking. So I just sent them what I had. I literally didn't even look at my images. I just sent them. So to get the next day like a text from someone saying, look at this, was incredible. And then also just the fact that it took someone else to see my image. Like, I don't think I had the peace of mind or the mental health or physical energy to look through my images and choose this best one. It took my editor to see that this was the best one. And this is honestly not the image I would have chosen from my selection. And it actually is the strongest image. So anyway, there's so much value in someone else looking at your work. That's all. That's what I was trying to get to with that. But yeah, Michael, do you want to speak to what Mira asked?
So Mira asked, I've heard someone using the term lens to replace shooting. What do you prefer to use instead of that?
I'm curious why you asked me if I wanted to respond to that, because yes, I do. Curious to know what you think too. Is it cool if we talk about language here for a minute?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
okay. Like my mama's here. She might not.
How much time do we have? Because I can talk all night about language.
Hey, mama, if you're still awake, can you throw some in the chat so we know you're still here? Otherwise, I'm gonna say what I really want to say. No, I think for me, language is one of the most important things for me to keep in mind all the time. And a lot of it is around photography, but just in general, I think it's important for me, I'll speak for myself, to constantly be aware of the words I'm using. Even if they don't exit my mouth, I want to be conscious of the words that I'm using when I'm making sense of the world to me. And I try to be cognizant of anything that feels oppressive, assumptive, judgment or judging, or just not accurate. And I think or extremely violent. And I'm always wondering if these are the words I'm using, even to myself, how is it affecting my behavior, my biases, and how am I showing up in the world? And photography is one. I know, Mom, I'm gonna say what I want to say no matter what. I say that like I meant that, you know. I'll be like, let me temper, because my mom is listening right now. But like, it's so important. Like, I often talk about the word just. Like, I think just is one of the most powerful words in the English language, because it can mean things like fairness, respect, but it can also be the most dismissive word that I hear as well. And I'm always paying attention to how does just show up, and it often happens in meetings or when people are talking about somebody's work, especially if that person is marginalized, female identified, female body, queer, trans, person of color. I'll hear people say things like, "Oh yeah, that was just this," or "That was just that," or when we're talking about ourselves, "Oh, I was just doing this. I didn't expect it to be this. I was just doing that." And at the same time, on the reverse, we'll say like, "This is a just action right here," and same word, completely different meanings, and it can be on complete opposite ends of a spectrum when we talk about respect. Similar with photography, I think about how violent photography language is. Like, we use words like shoot and capture, and let's see, I wrote down some headshot, subject. Like, a lot of
slave and master is also a common photography term.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I'm just, I don't think that they are accurate for what we're actually doing. We're not shooting. It's not a headshot. It's not a master or a slave. Like, it's just not representing what we're doing. And so the language, to get to the question that Mira asked, the language I try to use, and I still fall to it often, but the language I try to use are words that reflect what I feel like I'm actually doing. And so it might be something like, I'm working with this person to create an image. I'm working with this person to represent this concept or relay this message or communicate this thing or the situation. And like, I don't use the term subject, because for me, everything and everyone that I'm working with is a collaboration. So to me, the term subject it removes the agency from the person. And so I often say things like, "Oh yeah, the partner that I worked with on this," or "the collaborator with this," or something along those lines. And I'll stop talking. I feel like I just said a lot of words just now.
And Sandra says the use of the phrase "take a photo."
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
great that's
yeah.
a great yeah, and I think just is a great example of how, you know, a word, people are like, it's just a word. First of all, here's the word just again. It's just a word.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Words have power, as many of us know, and people can't traumatize. People cannot choose whether, you know, what traumatizes them. So, and anyone with trauma knows that, or anyone who knows someone with trauma. So, what I'm trying to say is this is what we call a trauma-informed approach to whatever you do in education. I sometimes try to educate myself on trauma-informed education. You're working with kids every day. What if your student didn't eat that day? And I actually do the same thing with the people I take photos of, that I do with my students. I start off like, have you eaten? Are you good? Are you in need of something? Because if that baseline isn't there, then what are we doing? But yeah, back to language. Like, yeah, I definitely think that I agree. And I asked you to speak because I had heard you speak on this before, and you said it. Not only did you say it so eloquently like you just did, but I agree 100% with everything that you just brought and said. Yeah, and I think, yeah, language is power. And oh, one thing I was going to say, we have a stark difference in how we see this, because you just said, you know, we're doing something, shooting and picture taking are very different things. In my mind, they're actually very similar, and that's what makes me uncomfortable. I have shot a gun, and it's actually very similar to taking a photo in my mind, especially when I have a long lens and I'm zooming in. That's your scope, right? And I don't want to get into this because it actually is. It does hurt me to think about, because you're getting someone in your sight. You're picking a perfect moment, right? You're waiting. Sometimes you hold your breath. Anyone who knows about snipers, right? You shoot between the heartbeats. Hey, guess what? Photographers are taught the exact same thing. So the parallels for me make me so uncomfortable that I don't even like to think. I don't like to draw those parallels or think about. I want to separate as much as I can, because there actually are a lot of parallels between, like, say, what a sniper and what a photojournalist does, in my mind. But yeah, just I think we're talking about trying not to traumatize people, and what's the harm in changing your language a little bit to, you know, if you're working with a community that might be traumatized. So yeah. But take a photo versus make a photo. That's an interesting thought exercise for anyone. Are you taking a photo or are you making a photo, and what's the difference?
I completely agree with you, and I agree with those parallels. That's one of the reasons I don't use the word, because I see that, and I think that language extends to body language too. And I'm often think, like, I'll be in a situation when I see somebody and we hold the camera up to that person, and I see that body language go like, oof, oof, oof. I'm like, you know what? This probably isn't the image to make right now. You put this camera down. And sometimes it's knowing when to put it down.
Well, it's interesting because of the body language. Normally, how people make images. Oh, I wish I brought my. Oh, I have it on my shirt. Hold on.
Yeah,
so
you
normally
do.
how people make images is you put your camera to your face, right? And the act of doing this is very othering. It's very distancing. To put something literally in your line of sight, it's actually like low-key rude, right? No matter how close or far from a person you are, it's kind of rude to put an obstruction when you're trying to connect with something. It's actually counterintuitive. So there's actually a camera. Hold on, let me show you. If you could see this.
Yo.
There's a camera called a Rolleiflex, or any twin lens camera you look down into like this. See how she's looking down? So there's a photographer called Vivian Mayer, or Meyer. It's debated how you pronounce that. And I also use this camera, a Rolleiflex TLR. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that camera does not obscure your face. So the relationship to your viewer, and actually you could do the same thing. Actually, I do this. And Michael, let me know if you do this. My camera flips out like this, my screen. So sometimes I'll be here, and my camera's down here at my belly, and my eyes are up here, my camera's down low, and I'm taking images down low, but I'm having a connection up here. So how you hold your camera, and whether you're blocking or what, you know, it changes the dynamic. And yeah, I think it's an interesting, again, I'm obsessed with like this photographer, Vivian Mayer, and like she had this, all her images were from slightly down low because she's holding her camera down low. And you kind of, that's how Rolleiflex pictures end up looking. You're kind of like looking up at someone all the time because your camera's down by your belly button. It's really interesting. Yeah.
That communicates something different too. just
Right.
that perspective. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Also,
Sandra?
sorry, one more thing about body language. Sometimes I put my camera down because photographers will just chill like this. We will literally for half an hour. I've seen people at press events. Press photographers will do this, just sitting, just chilling. Like, set your camera down for a second. Have a moment, especially, again, we're talking about trauma. If you're trying to connect, put it in your bag for 5 minutes and just talk to someone, right? Because just having your camera sitting here, imagine if you're being interviewed by a journalist and they're always recording. They got the audio running all the time. It's like, put the recorder away, just connect. And shout out Vivian Mayer, was the coolest photographer I ever learned about. Yeah, there's a great documentary called Finding Vivian Mayer, I think. I think it's free on YouTube. Anyway, keep that.
I watched it.
Her story is incredible, and her images are. I'm not being like hyperbolic when I say her images are some of the best ever. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jade, for that comment. And thank you, Mira, for that question. All right, y'all, we're hitting that 1.5 hour mark. So we're going to show, I know Chloe has 2 more photos that we're going to take a look at. And then Michael, we'll go ahead and do you 2 more photos. And let's do it back to back and have the conversation.
Okay. All right, Chloe, I will ask you, would you like to go or do you want me to go?
Either way.
Okay. For real?
Yeah, what are the images? Let the images decide.
Let's see what we got.
Also, I have a question. Sharon, do you take pictures? What's your relationship to photography?
I just bought a camera from Mike will help me pick out an Olympus OMD. I think it's a E5.
Of course.
And so I have that, but it's strictly for this. And I forgot that I was supposed to hook it up and use it tonight. But I am also, my relationship with pictures is that I call myself, and my family is starting to call me too, the family historian. And so when they need a photo from the past or present, they call me and say, Sharon, do you have a photo of this person, or do you have a photo for that person? And one of the things that I did that Michael reminded me of, I did this a long time ago. It was on Christmas. And I gave all the kids those disposable cameras. So we had like 5 kids taking pictures all around the house. Everybody was so mad at me because they would just flash and flash and flash. And it's so much fun. So I have always loved taking pictures and treasuring the moments. And so that's how I do it. And then even now, for my family, when they post pictures or things like that, I will save. So I will have them for the future to help tell the story. So that's my relationship. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's funny, the disposable camera thing. Like, if you have a young person in your life and you have an extra $15, here's your homework assignment. Go get a disposable camera. They still sell them at Bartell's. Go right now, or like whatever your local drugstore, or like Amazon, whatever you need to do. Get the disposable camera. It's going to be filmed. You're going to have to explain to them. It's going to be like, I think you get 24 pictures. You're going to have to explain to a Gen Z that they only get 24 pictures. Then let them go wild. Then get the $10, go to your local film lab. In Seattle, like Michael said, it's Panda Lab. Jessica at Panda Lab, shout out. There's only one option. Don't go to Bartell's and do it, because they do something different and they don't give you your negatives back. Do not go to the drugstore to get your film developed. Go to a film lab or send it to a film lab. Anyway, please do that, because that experience will really be valuable for a young person, a person of any age, really. So that's your homework assignment, everyone, whoever's watching.
Work assignment, and I'm putting Panda Lab in the chat for all of you that want to look them up. They can help you out. Michael, what's up? Show us something. Oh,
I had the same reaction, and I took this picture, and it made me go, aw. What? So actually, can I flip that around to you guys? Like, why is this image so awe? Like, why did it give that reaction? What is it about this image that makes you go, oh?
Well, for me, it's the closeness of the relationship. You can tell that they are comfortable with one another. And it's hard to figure out like if they're mother daughter or if they're related or if they're just friends, and they look so refreshingly happy to be together, and that's what made me say it's like giving that special one that hug that you always, it reminds me of just giving hugs and giving hugs, and in a time where we aren't giving as many hugs, because I'm still giving some hugs. It just, how great it is when you have people that you're really, really close to.
Thank you. I'm getting emotional over here because you're so right. That is exactly why this image gives you that reaction. And thank you, Violet, for saying it's a cozy pic. I think cozy is an excellent word to describe this picture. This is actually what I would call a pandemic portrait. So this was made, yeah, I mean, in the height, there was a spike actually. And not only that, but this was made in, I'll just say, a small town in central Washington where no one wears masks. I went there on assignment. From an editor, and it was so this was an article about immigration basically, and I went in, collaborated and learned from a community doing immigrant support work. So these are two women who are part of that community supporting immigrants in central Washington, and they are mother and daughter, but it's really sad to think I have not had a moment like this where I was touching someone like this since in over a year since COVID. I literally have not had intimacy or a touch like this, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm single, so yeah, spoiler alert. I have not been touched. I have not been hugged. I have not been, I'll do a fist bump or a little quick hug, but this is really special to see in a time of COVID. And I kind of put together actually, if you have Instagram or even if you just have the internet, my most recent post on Instagram is this photo, and it's a series of photos that are all portraits taken in the time of COVID. And it says love in the time of COVID, and it really just, they all show the importance of intimacy and what intimacy is. I think that's a theme that I'm now reflecting on, that we all have this, right? We see pictures like this and we were like, oh, I remember when we could do that. I remember those times when I could hug people. And so this is interesting. It was interesting going to a community that wasn't wearing masks, really. It was interesting going to Central Washington and learning about that community. And these women are so, so beautiful inside and out. And we're some of the strongest. They're both mothers, actually. So the motherhood is strong in this image, and this is just a little moment. And again, I'm such a photo teacher. I'm so sorry to try to educate everyone. This was the brightest day. I've never seen sun like this in my life. In Central Washington, they have sun. So it was so bright, I didn't know what to do. It was too bright for my camera, actually. My camera was couldn't handle it. So what I did is I put them in the shade. That's such a good life hack for anyone struggling with shadows, or the sun is too bright, or it's just, sometimes shadows are not cute and you just want to go in the shade to eliminate the shadow under the nose, but harsh sunlight in the eyes. This was just a little shady spot, and the quickest moment, I think I spent 15 minutes taking these images, but I spent 2 hours talking to them. So it was that kind of day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Audra Boo says this image is gorgeous.
Hey, Audra Boo.
Hey, Audra.
You're gorgeous. Hold on. Audra's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Audra slays.
Yeah, I see you, Audra. Go ahead.
Michael, what's your take on this image? What's up? I'm here.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful image. And I think that for me, the what's the word? I had the word. It is the amount of love that is represented in this image, like the depth of the love, like there are family portraits that happen all the time, and people put their arm around each other and everything, but there's the way that the shoulder on the person on the left is just slightly up, and the grip that the person on the right has on the arm is so it's a very nuanced piece of body language that says, like, I love you with my whole heart. And I almost never see that in pictures, especially if it's somebody who's not of the family or the group, or somebody who's super intimate with them. I almost never see that represented from somebody who's had 2 hours with with somebody. So that's the thing that stands out to me the most. And of course, the technical stuff is amazing as always. Yeah, but it's the depth and the richness of the expression and the love here.
Yeah, I'd love to just say something about posing real quick, because in journalism, it's kind of a no-no to pose people. You're not supposed to tell people what to do. I did not I could not have done less for this image, and I not to like nag myself, but this was all them. They did all of this, and like you said, it's a testament to their love, because yeah, I didn't do anything here. I really just said, get close, and they did this. So beautiful. Makes me miss my mama.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, Michael yes, there we go.
We're gonna continue.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna just let y'all. I feel like I just talked for a while. I'd love to just hear reactions first.
Cool. Go, Michael.
This is the second image where the person in the photograph has their eyes closed and they look so alive. And I think that is, for me anyway, that's one of the most.
What was the other image?
Marcus.
Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. I didn't even put that together.
I think that's one of the most difficult things to do with people photography, is to see eyes closed, or to have eyes closed and the person look vibrant and full of life. And these are 2 images out of 6 that do that. And so the first thing I thought was, how do you do this, Chloe? How do you do this? And then I want to know, who is this person? What are they doing? What are they about? Why does this image exist? And not like why justify it, why, but why does it exist? Like, what was behind it? What was the inspiration? And yeah, and there's something about this fern as well, where I'm just like, what is the story here? I want to know more. And I think you've done a beautiful job of making me curious, or sparking that curiosity in me to really want to know more about the fuller story. All right, Sharon.
Yeah, the beauty of indigenous culture, and I don't know what their pronouns are. Her, I'm just going to say her from now until Chloe corrects.
Yeah, it's she, her. That's correct. Yeah.
Her beauty, and the fern. Like, you always, people talk about, when I think of the Native community, I think of their relationship with the earth, and to have the fern in her hands, and the spirituality around everything that she does, even the clothing, and how I feel as though everything is a message that that she knows, and that her community knows, and that we are getting privy to, but really don't know the story behind it. But you can tell that there's a story there, and she's just, and as Audrey said, yes.
Yeah.
It.
So neither of you know. I was curious to see if either of you knew this person, because I recently was introduced to this person. What a compliment to hear from both of you that there's clearly a story here to be told, and that you want to know more, because I think that's the goal, right? For me, as an editorial, as someone who makes photos that go with words, yeah, that's the idea. Is it should look pretty, and then it should make you want to go read what's the deal, right? So I'm so blessed to be part of this project. All of a sudden, since the uprisings this summer, every single project I've been part of, I just deeply, deeply have connected with my collaborators. And this is a project that's unreleased. You're seeing very exclusive image right now, but it's a project with Seattle. Yes, Audra knows who this is, and that is how you spell her name. I believe her name's pronounced Sheila. It's Sheila, Shelah, and Sheila works with the Alphabet Alliance of Color, I believe, is who the group we were highlighting here. So the what I would call my clients, the people paying the bills, is Seattle Public Utilities, and I actually contract with the city of Seattle doing different projects with them. I also am the library photographer, so I contract with the library. So I do a lot of work with the city actually, and I recently started identifying and calling myself a historian because what my work actually does go into archives, and I'm also a student of history. So yeah, this is a historical photo, and I'm interested to know the indigenous element. I definitely feel that with the nature and the stone and the fern and just her intimacy with nature. But yeah, basically Alphabet Alliance of Color is in the chat. Please check them out. This project by Seattle Public Utilities is highlighting people's relationship to water. And so far it's been all Black, Brown, and Indigenous people. So that was their choice on who we're featuring. But yeah, I've been working with an amazing group of all women, actually, all women team and me. And we've been telling getting this intimate stories from these communities and how they connect to water. And so, yeah, that's how it connects with the utilities, Seattle Public Utilities, water. But this is the first time for the city of Seattle. They don't do like photo essays. So this is a very new thing, and I feel honored and blessed to be part of this. And yeah, I mean, so much of this is what Sheila brought to the day. I said, I think I may have told. I like to tell people, come as you are, be comfortable, but also like, I don't know, like represent, bring something that represents yourself. So she brought that lip, she brought that amulet, she brought the whole purple vibe. And then I don't know how the fern, I think she must have just picked that. I'm not, but I did ask her to close her eyes, and I did ask her to touch the fern to her face because I wanted to see her face and I just wanted her to interact with nature. And that's something that I do with all my, like when I'm taking pictures of people, I try to have them interact with something, because when someone's just standing there, it's a little stagnant. So you want your like photo to be like, yeah, interactive. Have them do something. So this is Sheila doing something and just working her magic. I mean, this woman is magic. Look at her. She's magic.
Yeah, Audra said she's dope. No doubt.
It might be Shayla. Okay, the jury's out on how to pronounce this. I just met this person, so I really apologize.
And then Audra said, Chloe, you better get it.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, that's awesome. Thank you, Chloe, for bringing
that. So this is some unreleased work, and all the photos we just looked at are from the last 6 months, except for the Indigenous girl colorful photo, which was 50 years ago. But yeah, this is all new unreleased work, and I'm excited to see what Michael has.
Yeah, and you can always support Chloe via Cash App at Chloe Collyer, and then and also at Chloetry at gmail.com on PayPal. So hook an artist up, show some love. Chloe, do you sell any of your imagery?
I was just gonna say I am just starting to put together. First of all, if you're interested in anything on my website or my Instagram, just hit me up and we can talk. Maybe I'll sell them, because if I haven't talked to the person in the photo, then that's a different situation. But I'm just starting to get a catalog together. Stuff I'm okay with just printing and selling writ large. But what was I gonna say about making money? Oh, another way to support me, is like hire me. Let's make some photos. It is pandemic, but I've been working, and I can say with confidence that I can safely do portraits with people, and I'm happy to support. I do sliding scale right now for COVID, especially for Indigenous, Black, and Brown people. So any marginalized community, I'm here to support. And or we could just do a trade or something. Maybe you have a skill that I could tap into. So anyway, there's many ways to support me, and I also want to support you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chloe. My gal, what's your last two images? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna follow in Chloe's footsteps. Toss it to you first.
I mean, texture. Can we talk about it? We were talking in the private chat about texture, which is something I have literally never thought about. And I teach photography for a living, and I don't think about texture. And Michael, you clearly are attracted to something about layers and texture, and grit isn't the right word, but yeah, texture. I mean, wow. And then again, eyes. I mean, there's so many similarities to your other project that you showed with the white. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the similarities, but also the differences of this project, and the meaning and how you did it.
Cool.
Yeah, and I second everything Chloe said, but also the your relationship with makeup, and I'm using it as a tool in your storytelling, I think is brilliant, and how you do it is so amazing. And Audrey Blue said, "Damn." And then Michelle said, "Love this photo. Does it have a name?"
Ooh,
That's a great question, Michelle. And just the intensity without being intense. I think it has it doesn't scare me. Like you would think with somebody with dark makeup on and something like that it would set up a wall for me to push back, but it makes me lean into it. I want to know more about this, not necessarily the person, but the moment. And it feels like I don't know about I think I have it in my house, but the way that he looks at you when you're moving around, it feels like one of those pictures, like no matter where you are, he can see you, and he's looking into my soul, and it's keeping me from looking beyond his soul, but making me look directly at him. Like I can't take my eyes off of him.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much the point. So I think we're good.
Can I just say everything but like Sharon just said? I felt like everything you just said, you were saying could apply to Michael himself. Like you just said intensity without being intense. Like that is Michael. Like we were talking about Michael's intensity, his intelligence, his wanting to learn and understand, but he's not intense. He's not, I wouldn't call you an intense person, but you're intensely intelligent, and you're intensely passionate, and all these things that bring intensity without being intense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you so much. I will start by answering the question, does it have a name? Yes, it does have a name now. It did not have a name when it started. The name of it now is We Out Here. And this image ended up becoming the image used for the festival We Out Here, that is done in collaboration with Langston, the organization. And big shout out to Jasmine Scott and over there, and Tim Lennon for believing in me and believing in this project. And so it's now named We Out Here, but it did not have a name before that. The main I love faces, and I love that. I love when we are confronted, or when I am confronted with a face-to-face situation and closeness. Like the camera, and man, I feel like I'm going to try to keep this story short. I love being able to do things with imagery, I'm always asking myself, what can we do through imagery that is either impossible to do, like with the digital world to the in the analog world? What's possible now that wasn't possible before? And then with the craft of photography and image making, what is something that is either impossible or unlikely to happen? What can we do with this medium? And one of the things that is not super common is being this close to somebody's face. And and we can do that with photography. And that was the hope here, was to bring a level of intimacy and closeness that we might not have, especially, and this is a Black male here, his name is Marcus Fontenot. And in media, it's like, we talked about how I'm a student of media. Usually when a Black male face is this close to the camera, as Sharon said, people tend to pull away, or some kind of, it's menacing. And I wanted to remove that from this image and instead invite people in. The main difference between this image and then the image in white, besides the color, is that the images in white came from, I don't want to say that I came up with it, but it was a project that, and a concept that came from within, whereas this was a project and a concept that came to me from Oliver Villafuerte, who actually did the makeup. So Oliver and Marcus, I used to, and I still do, well, not right now in the pandemic, but I have jam sessions in the studio where I invite people in and we just have fun. Have fun. There's no preconceived idea or concept that we're trying to execute. To do. But Oliver called me that day and he was like, "Hey, I have this idea. I want to play with some color and clay. And I'm working with Marcus on this. Would you be down to do it?" Well, yeah, let's come on in. Let's make this thing happen. So this image is actually intended to represent the beauty of a diverse world, and the colors are representing the diversity, not just of ethnicity and race, but but the diversity of humanity, and how beautiful we can be when we celebrate and honor each other's differences rather than dismiss them and demonize them. And so that's what this image is about. And also a shout out to Zorn B. Taylor, who is another person who tends to like to be very close and uses images or uses lenses that typically aren't used in portraiture to bring the person much closer to the viewer than is traditional. I think, let's see, I answered that one question.
Shout out Zorn Taylor. That was my photo teacher 15 years ago. He taught me intro to black and white and got me in the game. Shout out, that's my guy.
Oh yeah, a little aside on this. This image was created with the Mamiya RB67 camera, which is film and medium format, and is the camera that I acquired from Chloe Collyer years ago. So back when I was like getting introduced to this type of work, yes. Chloe brought in at Youth in Focus. Chloe brought in this RB67, and I fell in love with it instantly. And I was like, "Chloe, what's it going to take for me to get this camera?" And
I had no idea. First of all, I completely forgot. Forgot that.
But Chloe sold me this camera, and I use this camera all the time for most of projects that have importance to me. Are created with that camera, and as was the first set of images that you saw with the white, that was also on film with that camera. And Chloe, I want you to know that there's somebody, I'm not going to name the person because I haven't gotten consent yet, but there's somebody who is present right now in this stream who is currently holding on to this camera because they also love photography, and it has brought me so much joy to see this person experience the Mamiya RB67 and create images that they wouldn't have created otherwise. So thank you for believing in me to let me hold on to that, and just know that the gift is still giving.
Yeah, and that's the camera that Zorn uses, and I bought that camera because Zorn taught me. That was the first medium format that Zorn taught me how to use. So full circle, what a beautiful Violet also enjoying the Mamiya. Hold on. So first of all, just really quickly, I'm so sorry. I need a bathroom break. I'm gonna encourage y'all to continue speaking, and I'm gonna be quick. But I also would love to show, because we're talking about Mamiyas. I happen to have a Mamiya right here. Can I get my camera? Hold on. This is my other favorite camera. This is a beauty. So this is my Mamiya Universal. This is a 1960s press camera. It has a Polaroid back on it. This is so nerdy, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is also a Mamiya rangefinder, old school Polaroid in the back. Yeah, shout out Mamiya. That's a great company, and I just met someone named Mamiya. But yeah, feel free to continue the convo. Michael, I'm gonna run by you real quickly.
And Violet said, "I feel the gift every time I take it out."
Okay, I'd love to talk more about the camera later. So talk to me later about the camera. All right, I'll be.
We got you, Michael. Before so while Chloe takes a little break, and then we're gonna get to Michael's last image. But Michael, can you put up the thing from one of Aramy Walker, who was one of our guests, and for our first season of Shakin Shit Up, has a new album out that she just released. And the new album is called A Universe by Nature. And you can listen to her album on Spotify. And Aramy is a wonderful artist, and we had a great time with her here on Shakin Shit Up. And if you want to watch the episode, it was her and Brian J. Evans. They are on my YouTube channel, and as well, so you can catch it and listen to her music. But I think you will really enjoy her first album. Thank you, Michael, for putting that up. Also, next month for Shakin Shit Up, I will be the guest. And I'm hoping to have some of my collaborators on my Shook album here with me. I do poetry plus storytelling, and I opened today's show with a new piece called Unboxing, and I hope y'all liked it. And I've never opened a show with a piece, and I didn't tell anybody I was going to do it. I just did it spur of the moment because it's a new piece, no doubt. And any other housekeeping to keep up with Shakin Shit Up, we posted on my Instagram page, on my website, SharonNWilliams.com. You can hit all of that to stay tuned to Shakin Shit Up. And if you like our theme music, we have to give a shout out to Good Stuff. And we hope to have Good Stuff on this season to share more of his music and projects with us, no doubt. Michael, question.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into photography?
I don't remember. I have always, hold on one second. I can take this off now. I have always loved photography. I can tell you how I got into it more recently, like within the past 15, 20 years or so, I was working at an ad agency and doing strategy work, and I didn't like what I was doing. And I loved I ended up working with very closely with the creative team. All right, Chloe, bringing you back in here in a moment in 3, 2, 1. Oh, no surprises. Try to be. Yeah, and so anyway, I ended up working very closely with the creative team, and I kept waking up thinking, oh, I wish I was doing more creative work and less of the like the business strategy side of stuff. And so I started doing that, and it was a few years after that. And so basically I just created really bad images for a really long time. I just wasn't, just creating bad images. I think it's important to recognize that, like, they didn't mean anything. They weren't important to me. I was just trying to make, and I used just that time on purpose. Like I was just trying to create stuff for the sake of creating it, but that built over time. And then eventually I got to a point where I had 3 terrible dreams, very traumatic dreams. One of which was I was on the Oprah show, and Oprah asked me why I was doing work in prisons. And because I was creating dignified portraits in this dream with people who were incarcerated. And Oprah was like, well, 50% of people say that your work is very important. And the other 50% of people are saying that you're glorifying crime. And how do you respond to that? And I was like, well, 50% of people are talking about this, saying this, and 50% of people saying this. It means 100% of people are talking. That's what I was going for. And then
I love how Oprah's asking the hitter ass questions. Like even in your dream, Oprah's like,
Right?
Oprah don't play no games, boy.
She does not play.
And then I was a Holocaust survivor in another dream that night. And another dream, somebody broke into the house and was chasing me with a gun. And I woke up and I was like, okay, I don't know what this means, but I gotta do something with it. And I would lose sleep consistently night after night after night, wondering about various social issues. And I was like, I don't have the words to express what I want to express. And that's when, for me, photography became the main thing that I was doing, because that was the only way I was able to process internally and to communicate the things that I was really going through. That's how I got into photography more recently. But I've always loved cameras, and the way media has an effect on people. Go ahead, Sharon.
Chloe, how did you get into photography?
Yeah, I feel like I just keep getting into it over and over again. And the first, the gateway was actually Photoshop, which is really ironic because it's something I never use now. I somehow got Photoshop like early, like maybe I was 13, maybe 2002, early Photoshop days. And I wanted to make images to manipulate. I was moody. I mean, and when I say moody, I mean like depressed. Like I was sad as a kid, and I wanted to make. I have this vivid memory. I wanted to make vampire teeth. There's a thing in Photoshop where you just kind of drag, and it pulls. You could just kind of drag your teeth and make them fangs.
Liquefy?
I think that is the tool. It's been so long since I've been in Photoshop. No, yeah, Liquefy. No, you're right. And don't even get me started on Photoshop, because later in my life, I ended up re-falling in love in the darkroom. So this is so funny. First stage was Photoshop. Wanted to manipulate everything. Wanted to just do everything. And then I got my first camera. And the only way I could get a camera, I didn't have photography in my school. I didn't have photography in my community. My family didn't own a camera. This was not something that was accessible to me, not to mention the finances that are necessary to invest, especially in 2002. Like, it was a weird time in photography because digital was so new. So to invest in a digital camera was a big risk. And anyway, what I'm trying to say is Youth in Focus was my second awakening. And that's where I met Michael, but much later. And as a kid, I joined an organization called Youth in Focus. They provide everything. I mean, they're sliding scale. So ideally, if you can pay. But I had a full scholarship. They put a film camera in my hand. They put me in the dark room for the first time. And that was a huge awakening to be like, oh, analog. Like, oh, this is where it came from, right? Like history. If you love something, look into the history of it. If you love cooking, how did they cook in medieval times? If you love music, like where did rap come from? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to learn your history. So to learn, I always tell people learning darkroom photography is like learning how to drive stick. It's real beneficial because you'll understand the car a lot better if you learn how to drive stick first, and then and sometimes automatic is not what you want, right? Sometimes automatic be tripping. It's snowing and you're like, come on, let me get in second gear. Like, no. So I feel the same
You
way
are
about
talking
cameras.
language for real right now.
Am I?
Yes.
I love cars. I love mechanics, anything mechanical and analog. So yeah, but there was many reawakenings of what, it was just a slow transition from 13, starting Photoshop and like you said, disposable camera photos. I was the historian of my group. I was the photographer, the archivist, and I still am. I have all my homies' photos from back in the day. In fact, I just had some homies pass away in the last few years, and now it's my job to go through and find those images. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a big deal. You know, photography can mean so much, and so I would say Photoshop, circa the year 2000, and then finding darkroom photography, circa the year 2006, and by 2012 I was in college, and I said, dang, what am I doing with my life? Like, I was studying biology. I was actually studying the human eye and like how biology of vision works at Evergreen. And I thought I wanted to be a molecular biologist. I was like studying genetics. I really wanted to be a NASA photographer. I love science and I love photography, and I wanted to put those together somehow. But as soon as I tried studying science, I was like, oh no, I'm not the one. Like the levels of being a scientist was not for me. So, but studying vision. I mean, so learning. We talk about Michael had so many jobs, and like learn. You can learn from so many different places. I just watched the Biggie Smalls documentary that came out on Netflix, and Biggie loved jazz. Biggie loved reggae. I mean, he was Jamaican. He studied classical music, and that's what made him a genius. Is he put a little bit of this, a little bit of that in the sauce, and his sauce was unique because of what he took from other places. So I feel like that's what my journey has been, a little bit of science, a little bit of history, you know, and it all just came out into being a photojournalist. And it was like really what I was, destiny is real. I really feel that I'm living my chosen path, and I was meant to, I don't know how spiritual people are, but I think I was put on this earth to do this, to work with youth and to document with my camera. So that was a really long answer to the question. How did I start? It's like that meme. How do you start? Or like, what's that meme? Where you started and how it's going now.
That's the meme. Biggie also loved country.
Oh yeah, his mom. Yeah, exactly.
I love country too. Country, hip hop, all of it. My music library is cray. But thank y'all for sharing that. And now, here we go for the last photo of the night. Mr. Michael Maine, what you got?
Also, this is props for people that are still here with us. I know that we've been on the show, and for y'all still be here. Thank you so much.
Still people here.
Yeah, definitely feeling the love right now.
Yes.
And I'll end with this one.
Chloe, you first.
I mean, this photo just brings me joy, and I guess maybe that shows my socio-political affiliation, but really, it's interesting. You can't see my screen, but I'm looking at this image without looking at the shirt, because one thing we know about photography is like if there's text, you're gonna read it and it's gonna add meaning. So let's just pretend there's no text in this picture, and let's just talk about, politics aside. Let's talk about what's happening from the shoulders up. Beautiful smile. The relaxed. Again, just being relaxed in front of the camera is something that never happens. It's hard to do. So this is a beautiful moment. And that smile, I don't know this person, but that face is just giving me pure joy. And, and then you bring in the iconography, the fist. We all know what the black fist means, black power. You got Black Lives Matter, and then you got, of course, the hijab as well. And, wearing a headscarf brings in another element to it as well. And then there's also a necklace, which maybe Michael, I'm not sure if you know about what the necklace is, but yeah. And then the tonality is also interesting. It's kind of monochromatic, and then the skin, like everything's the same tone except the skin tone, which tells me that the skin tone is its own character in this. I don't know if I like how I said that. That was gross. But yeah, the skin tone is telling it has its own story going on. Because everything else is one note. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Skin tone be popping is what I'm saying.
Skin tone be popping. I like it. I love it. you know, I love this photo. Love this photo. But one thing that's standing out to me in this moment today is because of conversations I had in the last couple of days and meetings around. I've had a question asked to me: what do we do to bring um, the American Black community together with the African community? And I didn't have an answer. I was like, I don't know, but we have to spend more time in space together. And then you have this image that says it's possible. We just have to do the work to make it happen for us to understand each other. And so yeah, and that's just the space that I'm in today. And it gives me hope that that those connections will come together more and more as we move through space and time.
I want to just share one more thing, which is as soon as you said hope, that hit, because if I had to give one word to this image, it's hope. One is this person. This is presumptuous of me, but they look young. So when I see youth smiling, that is hope. When I think of hope, I think of young people smiling. And then the fifth enters this whole like the struggles of Black diaspora, but the hope of the struggle. So yeah, you have struggle, which you see in the fifth, and you see in the shirt, and you can even read, maybe you read struggle in the headscarf as well, and yet you have hope. So hope and change. This is Obama right here.
All right, Michael, tell us what you want us to know about this photo.
For me, yeah, this represents hope and love. Well, the first thing I want you to know about this photo is that the person in this photograph is named Nasra, and is an amazing human being, and I have very deep respect for this person. She's also a young person with a group called Young Women Empowered, and if Young Women Empowered is one of my favorite organizations on earth. So definitely, please check them out and support this organization. And I love contrast. And I think there's a lot of contrast in this image, some of which Chloe just mentioned, and with the subject matter in terms of like the hope and also the struggle at the same time. And I just, for me, when I see this image, I feel hope, because it's a heavy times, heavy world, and I couldn't have asked for anything different here. Like, I didn't ask for Nasra to do this. We were doing this photo session, and we were vibing, just talking, having a good time. It was about 6 of us in the. Wow, this feels so weird to say. There were 6 of us in the studio at the time, and at some point I was like, yeah. So this was the last image that we made. We were about to wrap up, and I was like, what are you feeling right now? And that's what happened, and that's how I wanted to end with this. Yeah,
wow,
that's all I have to say about it.
Really, you just said the words, "What are you feeling right now?" And she just came through with that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Also, can I just say, I came here from work at Coyote Central, and why we was at Coyote Central because they are setting up for their gala event, which is this Saturday. It's the 6th. Yeah, the 6th. So
Yes.
if you like young people, if you like art, and you like community and supporting, youth, then definitely tap into what YWE is doing. That's what we're talking about. Young women empowered. We call it YWE, and tap into the gala this weekend.
Yes. And I can't think of a more perfect way to end this segment, this episode of Shakin Shit Up. I want to say thank you to Chloe for taking the time to be with us tonight, and we look forward to being in community with you here on out. So please, everyone, follow Chloe, donate to Chloe, hire Chloe, tell people about this episode. It's going up on YouTube right now, and Facebook right now, so you can share it. Please do talk it up. And to my partner, Mr. Michael B. Maine. Also, support Michael B. Maine and all the love that he brings in community through his work and through his quest, And thank you for introducing us to Chloe. Much respect. And I love that we were able to put you on blast tonight so everybody can see your skills, the Shakin Shit Up plan. So appreciate it. The next episode of Shakin Shit Up will be Thursday, April 8th. And the guests will be myself and hopefully some collaborators from Shook. Ooh-wee! And we got some love in here. We got hold up. Coyote is sick. I love Claudia, who runs Coyote, so big shout out to her. And then we got Michelle. Thanks, Michael and Chloe, for sharing your passion and teaching us about the language and the techniques you use to create phenomenal images. Thanks, Sharon, for shaking shit up. Thank you, sis. And then Sandra says, beautiful art, beautiful words. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra, who's also a photographer. And Violet says, thanks to all of you. That was a really great conversation. Thank you, Violet, for hanging in with this book. And love from the whole house over here. So they got the whole squad over there. El Patrice Bell said, I absolutely love this. Thank you, Patrice. Audra Bruce said, Michael Mann is filthy out here. Chloe said, what's the name of the book, Chloe?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Choice of Weapons, Gordon Parks.
Choice of Weapons by Gordon Parks. Cop that. Audra Bruce says, Sharon is hella famous out here. I can't.
Factual. Why did I already know who you were? Why did I already know you?
It's still up. She said, thank you.
Go to bed, Mama Maine.
It is past your bedtime.
Evening. Love you all. Thank you, Mama Maine.
Love you too, Mama.
Love you, Mama Maine.
Thanks for this episode. Patrice said, now I need to purchase some art. Yes. Michael has art on sale on his page. Look at Chloe's art and see what you want, and then let Chloe know. And then Mira is clapping, probably shouting, all that good stuff. Thank y'all for hanging out with us tonight. We love you. We enjoy you. Remember, it's not just about the art, it's about the conversation. So please take this conversation into your networks, into your jobs, and just continue the conversation going. Art is a part of our lives every day, all day, and we need to cherish it and uplift it. So our stories, our messages, shaking shit up. Michael, drop that beat.
Shakin shit up. 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 Oh, shakin shit up.
Okay, one more time.
Good stuff.
Shakin shit up. Shakin shit up. Shakin shit up. Oh, shakin shit up. Shakin shit up. Shakin shit up. Shakin shit up.
I want to give a shout out to my Delaware State University softball team. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. DSU.